Inside the vast, vaulted council chamber of the Yelath Dominion, elite elders scoff at human myths, dismissing tales of Earth's ferocity as primitive superstition. Suddenly, a live feed shows a human colony's last stand, raw, brutal, unyielding. Confusion and dread ripple through the alien observers. Meanwhile, on Earth, the human commander steels her squad in silence, ready for a fight no one thought possible. A chilling declaration signals a shift in power. Humanity's legends are no mere stories, but warnings. The great hall of the Yelath Dominion gleamed with cold, iridescent light. Towering pillars spiraled upward, lined with glyphs that pulsed. Softly, ancient records of conquest and dominion. The council elders sat in a semicircle, their multifaceted eyes glinting with superiority. Between them floated a holoscreen, displaying a live feed from a distant, blue-green planet they called Earth. "Primitive," hissed Elder Krath, mandibles clicking dismissively. "Their legends are exaggerations by a backward species. Myths to mask weakness." Elder Vril chuckled, a sound like grinding stone. "Fables of Earth's warriors tearing down entire battalions. Ridiculous. They lack the discipline and tech to be anything but pests." The council chamber buzzed. With low laughter, alien voices dripping with contempt. Suddenly, the holoscreen flickered, zooming in on a battered human outpost perched on the edge of a volcanic ridge. Smoke billowed into the atmosphere as ragged figures moved with grim purpose amid the ruins. "Analysis," demanded Elder Krath. "The humans are not fleeing," reported a subordinate. "They are fortifying, defensive protocols activating. EMP fields, nanite swarms engaging, cloaking devices flickering on." The room quieted as the screen zoomed in closer. A female human figure appeared in the feed, her face streaked with soot, eyes burning with a savage resolve. She raised a hand, and behind her, the remaining colonists fell into a tight formation. Their weapons hummed with charged plasma. The alien observers' expressions shifted, curiosity warred with disbelief. Why would they choose to stand against overwhelming force? The logical action would be surrender or retreat, murmured. Eldevril.Krath sneered. "Because they are stubborn fools, no more." The feed suddenly cut to a close-up of the commander. She spoke, voice low but clear, transmitted through comm channels to all defenders. "Legends aren't just stories to scare children. We're the nightmare they never saw coming." A burst of plasma lit the screen as the humans unleashed a coordinated strike. Explosions rocked the landscape. EMP pulses darkened the alien fleet's sensors. The council chamber erupted into confusion and alarm. "How can this be?" hissed Elder Krath, eyes wide. "Their tech, it's crude, yet effective beyond calculation." Vril's voice cracked, tension bleeding into panic. "They are inside our systems, disrupting, sabotaging. This cannot be." The hologram shimmered, showing the human forces using guerrilla tactics, striking with calculated precision and disappearing into the volcanic smoke. Alien dread seeped into the chamber like poison. Meanwhile, on Earth, the human commander lowered her weapon, scanning the horizon as silence fell over her squad. The volcanic ash settled like a shroud, masking the battlefield's grim aftermath. Her voice was barely above a whisper, yet resolute. "They mocked our legends. Now they're trapped inside one." The last transmission cut to static. A heavy silence hung over the alien council as the realization dawned. The humans were no myth to be dismissed. They were a storm, relentless, brutal, and unforgiving. And the Empire had walked right into their tail. The command room was dim, illuminated, only by the flickering lights of holographic schematics and sensor feeds. Elena sat rigid in her chair, eyes locked on the three-dimensional map hovering above the console. The shattered landscape of their home world stretched out. Craters pockmarked the once thriving cities, their ruins swallowed by ash and silence. "Status. Report," she demanded, voice steady but edged with exhaustion. Lieutenant Miko's fingers danced over the interface. Velrak's reinforcements are delayed. Their orbital blockade weakened by our EMP bursts. Nanite swarms continue to dismantle their sensor arrays, but we're running low on resources. Estimated resupply window, 24 hours max. Elena's jaw tightened. That's too long. The enemy won't wait. From the shadows, Dr. Syra Menon stepped forward, her face illuminated by the glow of a portable scanner. The nanites have evolved faster than predicted. They're adapting to Velrak's countermeasures in real time. If we can synchronize their behavior through the harmonic resonator, we can collapse the entire enemy fleet's propulsion grid. Can you do it? Elena asked, already knowing the answer. Syra nodded. But it's a risk. The resonator requires a high-energy quantum pulse, which could expose our position and draw overwhelming fire. Eleanor's eyes darkened. We don't have a choice. Prepare the device. Miko, organize a diversion squad. I'll lead the extraction. Team! Outside, distant thunder shook the ground. The Velrak's forces were massing, an unrelenting tide that threatened to drown what remained of humanity's defiance. Remember, Elena said, voice low and fierce, we are the nightmare they never saw coming. She stood, feeling the weight of every fallen comrade behind her. The storm was coming, and this time they would be the eye of it. The night was thick with ash and the acrid scent of burning metal as Elena's team slipped through the skeletal remains of what had once been a bustling city. Jagged ruins stretched like broken teeth against the horizon, shadows pooling in every alleyway. Movement ahead, whispered Private Reyes, hand tightening around his pulse disruptor. His eyes darted to the flickering thermal scanner. Velrak's patrols, more than usual. Elena nodded, signaling the squad to spread out in a loose formation. Stay silent. We're ghosts. The resonator's core lay buried beneath the rubble, its delicate lattice of quantum circuits vulnerable yet vital. Dr. Syra crouched over the device, fingers flying as she calibrated the harmonic frequencies. Each nanite swarm around them pulsed in response, tiny metallic glimmers dancing in the dim light. Suddenly, a plasma bolt seared the air, cutting through the silence. Reyes dropped, rolling behind a shattered wall. "Contact left!" shouted Sergeant Callis, returning fire. The squad erupted into controlled chaos, shots blazing, pulses of energy tearing through the stagnant air. Elena's heart hammered as she sprinted toward Syra, covering her as the scientist worked frantically. "Almost there," Syra hissed, beads of sweat tracing her brow. "If this fails—" "Don't think that," Elena snapped. "We're not done yet." The resonator hummed louder, a deep vibration that resonated through the ground. Then a burst of blue-white light flared, sending a shockwave rippling through the atmosphere. Across the city, Velrak's ships faltered mid-flight, engines sputtering, graviton drives losing cohesion. One massive dreadnought wobbled, then plummeted into the distant ocean with a thunderous explosion. But the cost was immediate. Alien reinforcements swarmed in greater numbers, cutting off escape routes. "Fall back," Elena commanded, covering their retreat with precise bursts of plasma fire. Behind them, the resonator's pulse waned, but the battle was only beginning. As they vanished into the smoke and ash, Elena whispered to herself, "This is just the beginning." The legends weren't stories. They were warnings. The command post was a cavern of flickering hollow screens and tense faces. Elena slumped against the cold metal wall, blood and soot streaking her skin. The resonator's pulse had bought them a moment, enough to breathe, but not enough to win. Dr. Syra knelt beside her, eyes bright with a mix of triumph and dread. The fleet's crippled. Their graviton drives won't recover for days, but the enemy will swarm this sector like wolves. They'll come harder. Elena swallowed, voice low. "They think breaking us is just a matter of time." "Lieutenant," Miko stepped forward, voice urgent. "Commander, sensor sweeps just picked up a fleet mobilizing on the far rim. Not Velrak's, something else." A ripple of unease passed through the room. Elena's gaze sharpened. "Another player!" Syra shook. Her head. Unknown tech signatures, old but advanced, nanotech fields, layered cloaking. We've never seen this before. The walls seemed to close in. The galaxy's shadow was growing deeper, more dangerous. Elena rose, voice steel. We've fought their empire and survived. Now we face the ghosts of the past. Prepare the defenses and find out who's coming. The legend said humanity was a myth, but the real stories were only starting. The sky above the ruined plains shimmered with unnatural light as the alien vessels emerged from the folds of space. Unlike the Velrax dreadnoughts, bulky, aggressive, predictable, these new ships moved with eerie fluidity, their hulls coated in iridescent, shifting materials that seemed almost alive. Elena stood on the battered observation deck, her jaw clenched. Around her, the crew buzzed with a mix of fear and curiosity. This was no ordinary enemy. Unknown fleet identified, Lieutenant Miko reported. Their signature matches no known species in Dominion archives. Military-grade nanotech combined with advanced cloaking and gravitational manipulation. Dr. Syra's eyes flickered across the data streams. They're older than we thought. Possibly remnants of a lost civilization. Their tech suggests mastery over quantum fields and biological integration. Elena's mind raced. If they're ancient, why now? What do they want with us? Suddenly the sky erupted as a series of targeted EMP bursts detonated in rapid succession, disabling parts of their defense grid. "Attack!" yelled Miko. The alien ships responded not with brute force, but with precision strikes aimed at communications and energy relays. The battlefield became a silent war of shadows and pulses, a dance of invisibility and sudden violence. Elena gritted her teeth, ordering her squad to counter with nanite-enhanced disruptors, hacking the invaders' systems. While evading their gravitic traps amid the chaos, a broadcast crackled over the comms, a voice both ancient and commanding. "You have awakened the legends," it intoned. "Prepare to understand the true meaning of survival." The legends had mocked humanity once. Now they faced the storm, born from those very tales. Elena clenched her fists. "Then let's show them why we're the nightmare they never expected." The darkness of space outside the battered orbital station was pierced by the ghostly glow of the enemy fleet. Ships drifted like leviathans, their bioluminescent hulls pulsing rhythmically, casting eerie shadows against the void. Elena stood. At the viewport, her reflection fractured by the fractured glass, mirroring the fractures in the fragile alliance they had forged. "Commander, sensors detect an infiltration vector," Lieutenant Miko said, voice taut. "Nanite swarms cloaked as debris are attempting to breach the station's outer hull." Elena's eyes narrowed. "They're inside." Dr. Syra stepped forward, urgency etched into every line of her face. "These aren't just any nanites. They're adaptive, self-replicating, and capable of rewriting our system protocols. If they penetrate the core, the entire station could be lost." Elena's mind raced. The legends weren't just stories. They were warnings etched in blood. And fire. The enemy wasn't merely attacking. They were invading on a level no one had anticipated. "Seal all compartments," she ordered. "Activate electromagnetic pulse barriers around critical systems. Miko, deploy counter-nanite swarms with harmonic disruptors. We have to fight fire with fire." The station trembled as the first wave of enemy nanites struck, their shimmering forms slipping through cracks and vents, dissolving steel and circuitry alike. Alarms blared, voices rose in frantic commands, but Elena's voice cut through the chaos. "Hold the line! We are humanity's last beacon in this void. We survive, we endure." Outside, the alien ships pulsed with predatory patience, waiting for the station to fall into silence. But within its battered hull, a storm brewed, born of desperation, ingenuity, and a refusal to be forgotten. The legends had trapped them once. Now the legends fought back. The corridors of the orbital station twisted like veins, cold and metallic, humming with the relentless pulse of emergency systems. Elena moved swiftly, her boots echoing against the steel, flanked by a small squad of soldiers armed with electromagnetic pulse rifles and nanite disruptor grenades. Every shadow seemed alive, every breath a measured risk. Intel confirms nanite. Clusters have breached Sector 7, Miko reported through comms, his voice tight with urgency. They're targeting the power conduits. If they take those down, the station loses life support. Elena's grip tightened on her weapon. We can't let that happen. Callus, cover our 6. Reyes, sweep ahead. The squad advanced. The eye. Stale air thick with the scent of scorched circuits and ozone. Flickering lights cast long shadows as the nanite swarms flickered at the edge of vision, ghostly motes of destruction, shifting and coalescing with terrifying speed. Engaging, Elena hissed, releasing a disruptor grenade into the nearest cluster. The device erupted in a pulse of blue energy, scattering the nanites like insects under a flame, but for every cluster destroyed, 2 more emerged. Dr. Sarah's voice crackled in her ear. Commander, the enemy nanites are adapting. They're learning from our countermeasures. We need to recalibrate the harmonic disruptor's frequency fast. Elena's heart pounded. On it, Reyes, hold this position. Callus, push forward with me. Deeper into the station, the lights dimmed as power flickered. A distant roar echoed, structural stress ripping metal beams. We're running out of time, Miko warned, hull integrity at 40% and falling. They reached the power conduit chamber, a cavernous space crisscrossed with glowing conduits and humming reactors. Nanites writhed across the surfaces, feeding on the energy. Elena stepped forward, planting the harmonic disruptor on the main conduit. Activate on my mark. Suddenly a swarm coalesced into a larger form, a shifting, writhing mass of nanites that pulsed with unnatural intelligence. It surged toward them. Brace! Elena shouted as the swarm lunged. The disruptor flared, sending ripples of energy that tore through the swarm. The mass convulsed, breaking apart in a cascade of shimmering fragments. Breathing hard, Elena activated the device fully. The chamber filled with a resonant hum, and one by one, the nanite clusters began to dissolve, their cohesion unraveling under the harmonic assault. Power systems flickered back to life. Lights steadied, and life support stabilized. Elena looked around, sweat and soot streaking her face, feeling the weight of every victory and every loss. We're inside the legend now, she whispered. And legends don't die easy. Her voice was steady, a vow against the encroaching dark, because in this nightmare, humanity was both the hunter and the hunted, and it would not go quietly. The battered control room hummed with renewed energy as systems flickered back to life. Elena sat heavily at the console, her fingers flying over the controls, attempting to re-establish a link with the scattered human fleets still holding out across the sector. Commander! Miko's voice crackled urgently from the comm panel. We've picked up a transmission. It's not from any known human frequency. Elena's brow furrowed. Play it. Static gave way to a voice, deep, resonant, layered with an alien cadence, yet speaking in perfect galactic standard. You defy the stars' judgment. Your legends were warnings, not invitations, the transmission repeated, each word dripping. With cold menace, Syra leaned in, analyzing the signal. This isn't just a threat, it's a challenge. They know who we are and what we represent. Elena's gaze hardened. Then we give them an answer. Outside, the alien fleet shifted. Formations, an ominous dance that spelled encirclement. The ancient adversaries were no longer hiding in shadows. They intended to crush the last ember of human resistance. Prepare all defensive protocols, Elena ordered. Nanite swarms, EMP grids, gravitic decoys, everything. If they want to test the legends, we'll show them the truth behind the myth. Her squad moved with practiced precision, setting traps and readying weapons tuned to the enemy's weaknesses. Elena looked out the viewport once more, the stars burning cold and distant. Somewhere in that vast darkness, the ancient enemy awaited, but she smiled grimly. "Let them come," she whispered, "because inside every legend is a spark, and we're the fire that burns it alive." The airlock hissed shut behind them, sealing Elena and her squad inside the cramped, dimly lit shuttle bay. Outside, the station groaned beneath the relentless assault of unseen forces, a symphony of metal stress and distant explosions that echoed through the hull. "Commander, our intel suggests the alien flagship houses the core AI controlling there." "Neat swarms," Lieutenant Miko reported, his voice low but urgent over comms. "If we can disable it, their offensive capabilities could collapse." Elena's eyes narrowed, shadows flickering across her determined face. "Then that's our target. Callus, Reyes with me. We infiltrate, plant the disruptor, and get out before the swarm adapts." The shuttle shuddered as it detached from the station, plunging into the black void where enemy ships loomed like predators circling their prey. Inside the shuttle, tension was a palpable current. Every system flickered under the strain of electromagnetic interference, but their resolve remained ironclad. "Docking in 10, Miko announced. The airlock sealed, and the squad entered the alien vessel, a labyrinth of bioluminescent corridors and organic architecture fused with technology. Walls pulsed softly, alive in a way that unsettled even the seasoned soldiers. "Stay alert," Elena whispered. "These legends, they say the enemy's technology is symbiotic, melding biology with machine. That means danger could come from anywhere." The squad advanced cautiously, pulses ready, senses heightened. As they approached the AI core chamber, a low hum filled the air, a resonance that seemed to vibrate through their bones. Suddenly, a wall shifted, revealing a swarm of nanite-infused guardians, creatures part machine, part living metal, eyes glowing with cold intelligence. "Contact!" Reyes shouted, unleashing a barrage of disruptor fire. The guardians swarmed, relentless and adaptive. Elena dove forward, planting the disruptor device on the central core. The hum intensified, the ship trembling as if alive. "Get clear!" she ordered. The device activated, sending a pulse that rippled through the organic metal lattice. The guardians faltered, dissolving into clouds of inert nanites. The ship convulsed, systems failing in waves. The squad raced back to their shuttle as alarms screamed. Once aboard, Elena stared out as the alien flagship convulsed, then shattered in a cascade of glowing fragments, drifting lifeless in the void. Breathing heavily, she whispered, "We walked inside the legend, and we made it our own." The silence after the flagship's destruction was almost deafening. Elena sat slumped against the shuttle's cold bulkhead, sweat mingling with the grime of battle, her breath heavy and uneven. Around her, the squad caught their breaths, the distant hum of damaged systems a faint reminder that the war was far from over. "Commander," Miko's voice broke through the quiet, tinged with urgency. "We've intercepted a distress signal from the remaining alien vessels. They're regrouping near the Vorax Nebula." Elena's eyes flicked to the flickering holomap, where a cluster of ships glowed faintly, surrounded by swirling gas and radiation storms. The nebula was a dangerous place, a labyrinth of electromagnetic chaos that could mask movements, but also disrupt communications and navigation. "We can't let them recover," Elena muttered, standing with effort. "If they regroup, the swarm AI could be rebooted. That means starting this nightmare all over again." Syra stepped forward, tapping at her portable console. "The nebula's interference gives us an edge. Our nanites can adapt to its radiation patterns. We can cloak our approach using adaptive graviton fields and launch a surgical strike." Lieutenant Krylos nodded, checking his weapon systems. Precision over power. We hit fast and hard. Elena's gaze hardened. Prepare the fleet. We go in shadows and ghosts. No mistakes. The human fleet emerged from the fringe of the Vorax Nebula like phantoms, cloaked in layers of adaptive nanotech. Their ships blended with the cosmic storms, invisible to enemy sensors. Elena's flagship, the Ardent Resolve, led the formation, its graviton shields humming softly as they pierced the turbulent gas clouds. Inside the bridge, tension coiled like a spring. The crew's eyes were fixed on the sensor displays, where bursts of static and radiation spikes threatened to obscure the faint signatures of the enemy. Contact, Miko announced, voice steady but tight. 5 vessels detected, maneuvering erratically. They're wary. Elena's jaw clenched. They know we're coming. That means they've been expecting retribution. The plan was ruthless. Surgical strikes against key ships, targeting power cores and communication arrays to cripple their ability to coordinate. Deploy the nanite swarms, Elena ordered. Synchronize with the harmonic disruptors. The nanites, programmed with sophisticated AI protocols, slipped silently from the launch bays, weaving through the turbulent radiation like spectral threads. Their mission, to infiltrate and dismantle from within. Suddenly the silence shattered as the enemy vessels unleashed a barrage of plasma torpedoes, lighting the nebula with bursts of crimson fire. "Evasive maneuvers!" Miko shouted, fingers flying across the controls. The Ardent Resolve twisted through the maelstrom, graviton thrusters flaring to stabilize against violent turbulence. The battle was a brutal dance of light and shadow, technology and will. The nebula's storms interfered with targeting systems, forcing pilots to rely on instinct and gut. Elena's voice cut through the chaos. "Focus on their engines and command ships. We break their formation here." The nanites found their marks, infiltrating the hulls, sabotaging core systems. Ships shuddered, shields flickered, and one by one, enemy vessels drifted helpless in the storm. But the cost was high. A plasma blast tore through the Ardent Resolve's port wing, alarms screaming. Elena felt the ship lurch violently, the sickening groan of stressed metal filling the bridge. "Damage report," she demanded. "Port graviton thrusters offline. Hull breaches detected in 2 sections." "Casualties mounting," Miko reported grimly. Elena gritted her teeth. "Divert all power to shields and life support. We hold the line." Despite the damage, the fleet pressed forward, pressing their advantage as enemy ships succumbed one by one. But then, the unexpected, a sudden burst of light from the nebula's heart. An ancient vessel massive beyond reckoning emerged from the cosmic haze, its hull carved with glowing runes, pulsing with dark energy. "Commander," Syra gasped, eyes wide, "that ship, it's the origin of their nanite technology. A relic from the first wave." Elena stared in disbelief. The legends were true. The first wave, the mythical precursor civilization whose technology had seeded the galaxy with war machines and nanites. No one had seen one of their ships intact in millennia. The ancient vessel's gravity field distorted the space around it, sending ripples through the nebula. Its massive weapons array powered up, ready to unleash devastation. "Prepare for full engagement," Elena commanded, heart pounding. This fight just turned into a war for survival. The Ardent Resolve fired its plasma cannons, beams cutting through the nebula's haze, striking the colossal ship's hull. But the ancient vessel absorbed the blasts, its runes glowing brighter. Nanite. Swarms poured from its bays, cascading toward the human fleet like a living storm. "Deploy countermeasures," Elena yelled. "Focus disruptors on nanite clusters." The battle became a blur of motion and light, a clash of millennia-old technology and human ingenuity. As the Ardent Resolve weaved through the chaos, Elena felt the weight of history pressing down. This was no longer just a fight for survival. It was a reckoning. The legends had mocked humanity. Now humanity stood inside one, ready to rewrite its ending. And in the depths of the Vorax Nebula, the true test had only just begun. The ancient vessel loomed above the swirling chaos of the Vorax Nebula like a god from a forgotten myth. Its vast hull, etched with glowing runes pulsing in hypnotic rhythm, radiated an oppressive power that bent the fabric of space itself. Elena's ardent resolve drifted near, its systems strained to their limits, battered but unyielding. "Commander, our shields are holding, but the graviton distortions from that ship are destabilizing our navigation," Lieutenant Miko reported, sweat beading on his brow. "We're fighting both the enemy and the environment." Elena's eyes narrowed as she stared at the colossal relic. It's more than just a ship, it's a fortress, an ancient war machine built to dominate entire star systems. Dr. Syra, monitoring the ship's energy readings, whispered, "This vessel is alive, Commander. Its systems are symbiotic with the nanites it controls. It's not just a warship, it's a hive mind." Elena clenched her fists. "Then we have to sever that connection, target the central nexus." The squad gathered in the briefing room, the flickering holographic display showing the sprawling interior of the ancient ship. Corridors twisted organically, walls pulsing as if breathing. The central nexus was located deep within, protected by layers of biomechanical defenses. "An infiltration team will board and plant a high-yield disruptor in the nexus," Elena explained. "We don't have the luxury of a prolonged fight. Our window is narrow." Lieutenant Callis stepped forward, voice steady. "We'll need cloaking nanites and graviton shields to bypass their external sensors. But the risk of detection is high." Elena nodded. "Risk is our constant companion. Prepare the team. We leave at first light." The shuttle slipped through the nebula's dense clouds, its adaptive cloak rendering it nearly invisible against the swirling backdrop. Elena led her team, pulse rifles humming softly as they approached the massive docking bay of the ancient ship. The airlock opened with a hiss, revealing an interior alive with eerie bioluminescence. The walls pulsed in rhythm with the ship's energy core, casting shifting shadows that played tricks on their senses. "Stay sharp," Elena whispered. "This place isn't just a vessel, it's a predator." They moved cautiously, shadows melding with the organic metal architecture. Suddenly the walls shimmered, revealing nanite sentinels, morphing shapes of metallic and biological elements, their glowing eyes fixed on the intruders. "Contact!" Callis shouted, unleashing a hail of disruptor fire. The sentinels dissolved into clouds of inert nanites, but more surged from the corridors like a living flood. Elena's heart hammered as they pushed forward, the ship's hum rising to a deafening crescendo. The central nexus chamber lay ahead, a cathedral-like space dominated by a massive biomechanical core, veins of pulsating energy snaking across its surface. "Plant the disruptor here," Elena ordered, her voice steady despite the pounding. Adrenaline, as they worked, the ship reacted violently. The floor rippled, walls contorted, and waves of nanite swarms converged on their position. "Now!" Elena shouted, activating the device. The disruptor unleashed a blinding pulse, unraveling the symbiotic link between the ship and its nanites. The core convulsed, energy cascading in wild arcs. The ship trembled, systems failing in rapid succession. The oppressive hum diminished, replaced by a growing silence that felt almost alive. They raced back to the shuttle, dodging the collapsing corridors as the vessel's defenses spiraled into chaos. Once aboard, Elena watched the ancient ship shudder and break apart, its fragments scattering like cosmic dust. "Legends aren't just stories," she murmured. "They're warnings, and sometimes they're the truth we live." The human fleet, battered but victorious, retreated from the nebula's grasp. Elena's mind was heavy with the cost, the lives lost, the sacrifices made, and the knowledge that this battle was only a chapter in a much larger war. But in that moment, as stars twinkled cold and distant, humanity had carved its place in the galaxy's brutal mythos. They had walked inside the legend and emerged unbroken, and that was the truth the universe would never forget. The stars beyond the viewport stretched endlessly, cold and indifferent. Elena stood alone on the bridge of the Ardent Resolve, her hands gripping the rail as the hum of the ship's systems filled the silence. The battle was over, but the war etched itself deeper into her mind, an unrelenting echo of loss, victory, and the fragile hope tethering them all. Behind her, the crew moved with weary purpose, tending to wounds and repairing shattered systems. The scars of their fight gleamed in every panel flicker, every exhausted breath. Lieutenant Miko approached quietly, his face shadowed by fatigue, but bright with resolve. "Commander, the Council has approved the ceasefire proposal. The aliens want peace." Elena's eyes searched the starfield, disbelief flickering beneath the surface. "Peace? After everything? Why now?" Miko's voice was steady but cautious. Their flagship's destruction crippled their command, their leadership fractures, they're vulnerable and afraid. They say they want to negotiate. Elena exhaled slowly. Fear, the oldest motivator in the galaxy. Dr. Syra joined them, holding a datapad filled with recovered alien transmissions and encrypted treaties. "There's more. They've started referencing human legends in their communications, warnings, promises, even pleas. They've learned to fear us, not just as soldiers, but as a force beyond comprehension." Elena's gaze hardened. "We were the underdogs, the mocked, the dismissed." She looked out again at the stars, the vast darkness now seeming less empty, less unknowable. But we became the legends. The council chamber awaited her return, a place of uneasy alliances and cautious dialogues. The galaxy watched, waiting to see what humanity would demand or offer. The shuttle's engines flared softly as they descended toward the council's orbiting station. Elena's mind replayed the battles, the sacrifices of countless comrades, and the indomitable spirit that had carried them through. As the shuttle docked, Elena turned to her team. "We've changed the game. The legends that once mocked us are the ones they now heed," Lieutenant Krylos smirked, rubbing a tired hand over his face. Funny how the hunters became the hunted. In the council chamber, alien representatives waited, faces marked with skepticism, fear, and respect. The air was thick with tension. Elena stepped forward, voice clear and unwavering. "We did not seek war, but when cornered, humanity fights with the fury of myths made flesh. We come, now not as conquerors, but as guardians of peace." She paused, letting the weight of her words settle. The galaxy should know this. Underestimating humanity is a mistake. We are the stories whispered in the dark, the legends that refuse to die. A silence fell, profound and heavy. Then slowly, a ripple of acknowledgement. The ancient alien leader, eyes glowing faintly, inclined his head. "You have walked inside your legends and emerged victorious. The galaxy will remember." Elena nodded, the fire within her undimmed. As she left the chamber, she whispered to herself, "Legends are born in fire, and we are just getting started." Outside, the stars burned cold but eternal. Humanity's place among them was no longer a question. It was a promise. The legends had returned home.